Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. It is an absolute beautiful spring morning here in my California garden. It's supposed to get up to about 85 degrees Fahrenheit today, which is absolutely amazing, but my body hasn't quite acclimated to that heat yet. So I decided to get up early and come and garden early in the morning. I really wanted to work on these 3 metal stock tanks that I have on the south side of my garden. They're kind of by my garage. And over winter, I ended up planting these guys with some winter blooming bulbs. I had some tulips and I had some muscari, and the combination was stunning. It was so beautiful. The red and the purple were just such a beautiful contrasting color. I wanted to repeat it. And so what I'm doing right here is I am pulling out that muscari, pulling out those tulips. Because we get so hot here, we usually treat those type of bulbs as annuals. They cannot handle, they will not bloom again because they need more chill time. And I could let them dry out and then store them and then pre-chill them and plant them again next year, but sometimes it's just easier to treat them as annuals, which is what I usually do. Now, when it comes to daffodils, we are cool enough here, and our winters do get cool enough that they will naturalize for us, and they will rebloom, and so we like to keep daffodils, but when it comes to tulips, we don't worry about it. Now, the reason why I am doing a voiceover this morning is because my neighbors are actually drilling a well on their property. We are out in the country and we are all on well out here, and they have been working on this well house for quite a while. And then the well pump has come, and they are working on drilling a deep well so that they can have water. And unfortunately, it's kind of loud. I wanted to work on these 3 stock tanks this morning though, so I decided probably the best thing for the video this morning is just to do a voiceover instead of trying to work around the sound and disturb you guys with the sound of this well drill. You know, eventually it's almost like white noise for me and it doesn't bother me, but I thought it would be easier for the video if I just did a voiceover. So I just spent some time pulling the rest of my tulips and the muscari bulbs, and I was actually putting them into my pop-up bag and then eventually into my green waste bin. I have a lot of people ask me about what I do with my green waste, whether I have a composting pile or system, and I do have a 3-bin composting system, but I do need to work on it because my compost is not breaking down as quickly as I would like. I think because it's in too much shade. I was talking to somebody and they recommended putting some of my compost into shade because we're so hot, but I actually think it needs to be in more sun. So my composting bin needs a little bit of work. It is absolutely chock full right now, and there's no extra room for any more green waste for me to put in it. So I have been making a pile right next to it for things that will break down pretty quickly, but otherwise I will just put all of my green waste into my organics bin that my city actually picks up. My city will pick it up and they will take it to the landfill and they will actually compost it themselves, and their compost eventually gets what's called STA certified, which means that it has been heated up, it's hot enough to kill any organisms or any harmful things, and to kill all the weed seeds. And then at certain times of the year, they will actually let the residents come and pick it up for free, or for the rest of the times of the year, they'll charge a small fee for it. And I just think that that's great. And I was looking into it, and the residents will take some, but the majority of the compost actually goes to farmers around here. And I live in the Central Valley of California, and there are tons and tons of farmers around here. So I just think it's a really, really great system. None of this green waste is getting burned, and it's all going for use and getting recycled and going back into the garden, which I just think is great. So after I was all finished pulling all the old plants from my stock tanks, I went to grab a couple bags of fresh soil. I do need to pull out more of the soil in the stock tanks and rejuvenate it, but the soil had dropped, like 6 inches or something like that. So I figured that I could just top it off, and I was going to give it some really good fertilizer, some starter fertilizer, and then also some slow release fertilizer from Proven Winners. So I think that the plants that I'm going to be putting into these stock tanks will be able to grow really well and be really happy with some of the fresh soil and some of the fertilizer, at least for this season. I know it's kind of like a ticking clock that there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to dig down about halfway and completely replenish these stock tanks, but I didn't want today to be that day. I was being a little bit lazy. So because I loved that red and purple color combination so much when I had the spring blooming bulbs in here, I think it was because I have that black fence behind this, and the black fence needs a really strong pop of color in front of it. And the red and purple combination really just did that. It was gorgeous. And this is actually where we park our cars. So it's not really a place that you, like a main part of the garden, but it is a part that my family and I are kind of in and out of all day long. And I do still think it's really important to decorate and to plant up areas like that. So just like if you have a driveway, you want to put, pots on either side of your driveway to enjoy it when you get out of the driveway. This is kind of like my pots on either side of the driveway, these stock tanks. So I loved that color story, and I decided to add these Surefire rose begonias for my red. Now they are definitely rose, but I thought it would have that same look, especially if I combine them with a purple. You all know how much I love Surefire rose begonia. It gets about 2 feet tall and wide, and I consider it a temperennial, meaning it'll overwinter for me, although it's only rated to zone 10 and I'm a zone 9B, but more times than not, it is overwintered. I cannot think of any time off the top of my head right now where it hasn't lasted through the winter. So if you're in zone 9B, you're pretty good to go thinking that this will be a perennial for you. So it gets really tall. It's definitely a vertical type of growth, and that's why I thought it would be perfect to plant right in the middle of these stock tanks. So I decided to do 5 of each of them and planted them in, and these specimens were beautiful already. They have been blooming since I got them from the grower, and I've just been waiting for the right spot to put them in my garden. And when I decided that I wanted to do these stock tanks this morning, I knew that this Surefire rose begonia was absolutely the right place to go. I then went over to my stash and grabbed some Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine. Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine has the darkest bloom to it. It's a dark purple, and I think that it will really, really pop against the Surefire rose begonia. I think that it's going to be so pretty. Now, these specimens I actually have recently cut back, so they don't have any blooms on them right now, but they are ready to go. As soon as I put them here in a little bit of soil and a little bit of sun, I'm going to have blooms all over them in a week. But you can't really see any purple blooms on them. I think I have one of the plants that had some blooms on them. But I just think this combination is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Now, a Supertunia Mini Vista is a different category of Supertunias. There's actually 3 categories of Proven Winner Supertunias. There's Vistas, which are absolutely the most vigorous. They will get up to 3 to 4 feet wide, and they have really big, beautiful blooms. Then there are just the regular Supertunias, the OGs, and those will get anywhere from 2 to 3 feet wide. Again, really big, beautiful blooms. A little bit less vigorous than the Vistas, but they're still Supertunias, so they're still incredibly vigorous. Then they have Supertunia Mini Vistas, which are just as vigorous as the Vista series, but they have actually smaller blooms. And because of that, they're a little bit more compact, around 2 feet wide. So I thought that that would be perfect for these stock tanks because they will grow and they will kind of spill over the edges of the stock tanks, but they shouldn't grow enough where they're going to reach the ground and kind of cover up the container, which can happen a lot when you plant a Supertunia or a Supertunia Vista in a pot or a container. It will grow so much that it will cover up the entire pot, which is definitely a look, and it is a beautiful look that I love, but I just thought it would be fun to have something a little bit more controlled in this spot right here, which is why I chose the Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine. I was going back and forth between that and Supertunia Royal Velvet, which is another really beautiful Supertunia that has a deep purple bloom to it, but had I planted Royal Velvet here, it would have almost immediately started touching the ground, growing so much that it was touching the ground, which would definitely be a look and it would be gorgeous, but I wanted to go for that, for the Mini Vista for this one. So I just planted, I actually had, how many did I have? 8, 9, 10, 11. I had 11 of these, which is so odd. I have been using them in other projects. So I did 4 on the two stock tanks that are on either side, and then I did 3 in the middle. And if I go to the garden center and I see one more Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine, I'm absolutely gonna grab it because it's just a little off and it's bugging me, but you know, I think it'll be okay if I can't find it, but I'm gonna be looking for it. Then I decided I wanted a spiller, and I have this Dichondra Silver Falls, and you can't go wrong with Dichondra Silver Falls. It is such a beautiful, cool colored spiller that will definitely spill over the front and touch the ground with these stock tanks very, very quickly. I planted Dichondra Silver Falls in my zigzag planter last year, and I also planted it in my hanging baskets on my back porch last year with my mangave, and it's just beautiful. To me, it's just going to be an absolute staple in my garden for the rest of my life, basically. So I decided they would look really pretty with the purple and the rose and then the Dichondra Silver Falls. I just think it's going to be a fantastic combination. So after I was done planting, I needed to do some cleanup, even though I didn't want to. So I grabbed my kneeling pad, and then I grabbed this tool, which is actually called a hodag tool. I'll put a link to it in the description down below. I love it. I'll put a link to, this is Laura's, this is Garden Answers kneeling pad. I have one in pink and one in green, and you guys, they really are as fantastic as they say they are. They're really great. I'm finding myself reaching for it every single time I go gardening. So I grabbed my hodag, and I had to weed all of these weeds that I had in this crack right here. I've been neglecting, I've been good with a lot of my weeds. We've definitely had less weeds this year than we had last year, and I think it's because of all the wood chips that we've been using around our garden, but I haven't put any wood chips in this little crack right here. This is probably a 3 or 4 inch crack, and it's just perfect breeding ground for weeds. So I need to do something, probably just put some wood chips or something like that. But I grabbed this hodag tool, and it is a really, really helpful tool for those of you that have kind of hard soil like I have. When our soil dries out, it gets really, really tough to work through. So this little almost pickaxe will really, really help it. So I just pulled all these weeds, cleaned it up, and then went in with my blower just to really finish cleaning up this area and making it look absolutely beautiful. So I finished everything up with a really, really deep soak, deep watering of all these stock tanks. These stock tanks, because they're metal and I think they're on concrete, they dry out so quickly. I will be hooking these stock tanks up to drip. I'll put some 1/4 inch or spaghetti inline emitter tubing and kind of twirl it around a couple times just to make sure they get soaked every single morning that our drip irrigation goes on. But before I did that, I wanted to make sure I gave it a good soaking with my hose link and made sure that I could get the water down as deep as I possibly could. So I didn't even record for as long as I was actually watering because I really wanted to really, really soak them. So I will keep you all updated on how these stock tanks are growing. I'm optimistic. I think that they're going to be absolutely beautiful because I know this color story is just really gorgeous in this spot right here. I do have to say, as I'm even recording this voiceover right now, the well drill is still going. I had no idea how many days it took to drill a well, but they are working hard there. I can hear the guys working. I hope they finish soon, but it's okay. I completely understand. I just wanted to work on the stock tanks this morning. Maybe tomorrow I'll work on a different part of my garden that's not as close to the construction. So that's, I do live in the country, but I still have, like, my neighbors are chickens and goats. I have a small airport across the street. 2 houses down, we have a dog trainer that watches dogs. So sometimes we get some dog barking. So it's funny. I live in the country, but there's still a lot of fun commotion going on, and I love it. I love living out here. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.